Hey class, tonight our lesson is converting between improper fractions and mixed numbers. This is found in Swun 5-4, and tonight we're going to be going from improper fractions to mixed numbers. So our goal after watching this video is today I will learn to convert improper fractions to mixed numbers. So we have two vocabulary words. Our first word is mixed number. So a mixed number is a number that has a whole number and a fraction. For example, 2 and 1/2 is a mixed number because it has a whole number and it has a fraction. 3 and 7/8 would be a mixed number. It has your whole number and it has a fraction. Our second vocabulary word is improper fraction. So that's when a fraction that has a value greater than 1 because the numerator is larger or greater than the denominator. For example, if I had 6/5, this is greater, the numerator is greater than the denominator. And what this would look like is I have one whole, and the denominator tells me how many parts that whole is broken up into. It's broken up into 5 parts. So I have 5 parts. My whole is broken up into 5 parts, but I actually have 6 of them. So I have to have another whole that's broken up into 5 parts as well. And I have 6 of them. So I have 1/5, I have 2/5, I have 3/5, I have 4/5, I have 5/5. Anytime we have a whole number, we can see it as the fraction that is however many parts it's broken up into. So 5 and however many is colored in is how many we have. So 5/5 is equal to 1. So I have 5 of them, but this one says I have 6, so I have 6/5. So an improper fraction shows me that I have one whole and one left over. And again, this whole looks like 5/5, and then we have 1/5 over here. Together, we have 6/5. Let's look at this one. If I have 3/2, here's 1/2, here's 2/2, but I have 3 of them, so I need to have another whole that's broken into halves. I have 3/2. So 3/2 is equivalent or the same as 1/2. Here are our steps. So step number 1, you're going to set up your fraction as a division problem using our famous in and out. Second step, we're going to divide. Third step is you're going to bring your remainder up to the answer to become your numerator. Step number 4, your denominator stays the same. And then step number 5, you're going to add your whole numbers. Okay, so let's see what this looks like in action. I'm getting out my red pen, which means that you are stopping, you are watching. So our first problem is 7/2. What 7/2 looks like is there's 2/2, there's 4/2, there's 6/2, But again, I have 7 of them. So I have 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves, 7 halves. So 7 halves equals to 1 whole, 2 wholes, 3 wholes, and 1 half. Yes, we could find out what the mixed number of this improper fraction is using this diagram, but we don't want to do that every time. So we're going to use these steps. We're going to set up your fraction as a division problem using in and out. The top, or your numerator, is always in. The bottom, or your denominator, is always out. Step number 2 says to divide. So I'm going to put 7 inside, 2 outside. 2 goes into 7 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. Step number 3, bring your remainder up to the answer to become your numerator. So remember, 3 is my answer. So I'm going to bring that 1 up and it becomes my numerator. Remember, down denominator, up numerator. Okay, so that one goes on top. So the 1 goes on top. And then step 4 says your whole number stays the same. My whole number stays, my denominator stays the same. And look, my denominator was 2 there, it's 2 here, so my denominator here is going to be 2. And then add your whole numbers, so I have 3. So 7 halves is equivalent or equal to 3 1/2. I'm going to give us another one. Number 2 is 4 11/4. Okay. I don't want to draw 4 wholes and then 11/4. So I'm going to just use the steps that we learned. So step number 1 says set up your fraction as a division problem using in and out. So I'm just focusing on this fraction. So 11/4 using in and out. Remember, numerators in, denominators out. Step number 2 is divide. So I'm going to do 11 in, 4 out. 4 goes into 11 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. 11 minus 8 is 3. Bring your remainder up to the answer to become your numerator. So I'm going to bring my 3 up to become my numerator. Your denominator stays the same. So I look here, my denominator is 4, so my denominator here is going to be 4. Add your whole numbers. So I divided my fraction and I got 2 3/4, but I started out with 4 wholes. So I need to add those 4 to these 2. So when I add 4 and 2, I get 6. So I have 6 3/4. Sorry about that. We're going to now follow along. I have my green pen out. Number 1, 5/3. I'm going to rewrite that. It says set up your fraction as a division problem in and out. In is my numerator. Out is my denominator. Step number 2 says to divide. So I have 5 in, 3 out. 3 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. Step number 2, bring your remainder up to the answer to become your numerator. Remainder goes up to my numerator. Step number 4, your denominator stays the same. So my denominator was 3. Add your whole numbers. This problem doesn't have any whole numbers, so we're done. So my answer is 1 2/3. Number 2, I'm going to rewrite it, and I like to give us some more room, so I'm going to write it up here. 5 7/4. Step number 1, set up your fraction as division problem using in and out. So 7/4 in and out. 2, divide, so 7 goes in, 4 goes out. 4 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. I subtract and I get 3. Step number 3, bring up your remainder so that it can become my numerator. Numerator's on top. And then your denominator stays the same, so I have 4. So my denominator is 4. Add your whole numbers. So I started out with 5 and then I ended up with 1. So 5 plus 1 equals to 6. So I have 6 and then my fraction of 3/4. So 5 7/4 is equivalent to 6 3/4. Number 3, I'm going to rewrite my fraction. 4/2. Set up your problem as a division problem using in and out. Step number 1, in, out. Divide. Step number 2, 2 goes into 4, 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Write my 4 below. I subtract and I get 0. There's nothing left to bring up because we're done. So there's no denominator. I don't have any whole numbers to add. So 4/2 is equivalent to 2 wholes. Number 4, 10 8/3. I'm rewriting it so it looks like a normal fraction. Set up your fraction using a division problem using in and out. So I have 8/3 in and out. So 8 is in, 3 is out. 3 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. Bring your remainder up so that it becomes your numerator. So 2 comes all the way up. And my denominator, step number 4, denominator stays the same. So I have 3. And now add your whole numbers. So I ended up with 2 wholes. I started out with 10 wholes. 10 plus 2 is 12. Apologize. 10 plus 2 is 12. And then I have 2/3. So 12 2/3. So 10 8/3 is equal to 12 2/3. You have 4 homework problems and then rate your understanding. Have a wonderful evening.